Hello and welcome to Case Closed. I'm Tracy Perry, your host. We'll soon go inside an actual courtroom in the Warren District Court to look at real small claims cases in action. Under Michigan law, small claims cases may be brought by individuals seeking $3,000 in damages or less. Neither side may be represented by an attorney in small claims court, and the judge's decision is final. Now for the case of the little engine who couldn't.
I took my car into his auto care place on January 25th and said I had a knocking noise in my engine.
Okay.
So he filled this paperwork out that I had. He did repairs on it. I picked it up. I think it was on the 1st. And paid for it, left. And when I got halfway down the street, it still had the same knocking noise in the engine.
Okay.
So I had a friend of mine, not him, he's my witness, but go back there and tell him the engine was knocking. I was halfway home. I went home because he helped me out with this whole thing.
Your
When we
friend
were down
there?
Him. This is my ex-husband.
Ex-husband.
Robert Miller.
What is your name?
Robert
Robert who?
Miller.
All right, and you're the ex-husband of the plaintiff?
Yeah, what I did is I went in with her originally on all this to kind of be her mouthpiece, I guess.
How long have you been divorced?
God, I don't know, 10 years.
Pardon?
10 years.
Ah,
It's been a while.
you're still friends, I guess, though, huh?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
that a yes?
Yes,
Okay, go ahead.
so far.
Go ahead.
But anyways, if I can just real quick.
Well, let
her
the
take-
plaintiff.
Okay.
She's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Go
So I
ahead.
took my car and there had the same knocking noise. So I went all the way home and had him look at the car. Had the same knocking noise. So we took it back the next day, which was on the 2nd.
No, that's not right.
It's not?
No, I took it
What
back
day was it?
I took it back that night.
Oh, okay.
I took it back that night.
Okay.
One
What
of
day
his-
was that again?
What's that?
What day was that again?
The first, I think, it was
Let me see. She picked it up on the first. I took it back that evening,
What first day of what month?
February.
February.
February 1st. Okay. So you took it back that same day.
I personally took it back to Ron. Ron had one of his mechanics get in the car with me.
Okay.
We drove around the block.
Okay.
But got kissed. Said, yeah, there's a knock. Took it back to the shop. He goes in, tells Ron, yeah, there's an engine knock in the upper part of the engine,
Okay.
which I thought they would have known that from the very beginning. That's why we took the car there. He wanted me to leave it there that night. I said, I can't do that. She's got to have the car. I said, I'll bring it the next morning. 8 o'clock the next morning, I brought the car to his shop. He gets one of his other mechanics in the car. The guy takes off with the car, comes back, doesn't say a word, drops the keys to Ron. Ron comes over with me with this receipt for $2,450 for a new engine.
What do you mean receipt?
Yeah,
No, with a bill.
with a bill. I'm
Well,
sorry.
you didn't pay him the first day?
Yes, she paid him.
I
She
paid
paid him.
him.
This is $2,450 after she already paid him
800
$800.
for the
Wait a
knocking
minute.
noise.
So she went in there on February 1st.
Right.
Dropped the car off.
Right.
Picked it up. Paid how much, ma'am?
$777.93.
$777.93. You take the car, and thinking you paid everything.
Think the
You
car's
take
fixed.
the car back next day, sir, right?
Correct.
Someone there drives it around a little bit. 5-10 minutes later, this person comes back and gives you a bill for how much?
No, it says I need a new
Gives
engine.
a quote.
Oh, a quote.
A quote. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
well.
I'm sorry. My mistake. A quote on a receipt for $2,450 for a new engine.
So this person says.
Or for a rebuilt engine.
Okay, so this person
whatever
says
it was.
that's what the car needs.
Right.
Okay. What happens next?
Well, we tell them we're not gonna pay him $2,450 for a rebuilt engine when we took it in there originally for the engine knock,
Right.
which they obviously didn't take care of. They took care of everything else but the engine knock, which they took care
What
of
else
things.
was wrong with it besides the engine knock?
Well, a couple new tires that need an alignment, but it was petty stuff. I mean, stuff that we didn't even, when we brought it in there, we didn't ask for an alignment, we didn't ask for new tires, we didn't ask for this. We told them there was an engine knock. Could you please check that out and let's get it fixed, and whatever it costs, she'll take care of it. Well, when he had called her about this and said, come and pick your car up, I'm thinking, well, I guess it wasn't an engine knock. That's what I'm thinking to myself.
What about the car now?
I had to have it repaired, I also have that now.
Right, that was
Wait,
another.
wait, what did you have?
The
Here,
engine
bring that.
rebuilt.
She had to
Oh,
have,
so
it
you-
re-
I
Okay,
had that engine rebuilt, here's the receipt. for
all right,
that.
let's just,
That was $1,500.
you still have an engine knock now?
No,
no.
I don't.
Okay, you're giving me here a, work order, I guess, from Ron's Auto Care dated January 25th. This is for $777.93. That says here, engine light on, was low on oil, makes noise when starting, knocking noise, was 3.5 quarts low, had to add in order to check car. Exhaust, I can't read this, some work was done on the exhaust. Replaced the EVAP solenoid, balanced the front tires, the front end alignment was done. And there's a note on here that says, customers drove vehicle 3.5 quarts low on extremely dirty oil. When's the last time you got the oil changed before you brought it in?
It
ma'am?
was a while. I'm not saying I didn't, that the oil.
She
you
let it
know.
go a while.
Yes, I did.
Okay. I also have receipt from Macomb Financial doing business as Lakeside Auto Sale. Actually, it's an invoice for $1,553.43, which apparently was paid on February 23rd, for an engine assembly. It says remove, install, and overhaul. Includes replace rings, main and rod bearings, crankshaft, and camshaft, remove cylinder ridge, burnish cylinders, clean and test to replace hydraulic lifters, grind valves, and adjust fuel mixture. And something with the idle. Looks like there was a discount of $412. Says upon arrival, engine noticeably has a rod knock, lower end damage to crankshaft. We will repair engine knock with the crankshaft and bearings, new rings installed at time of reassembly.
Miss Miller took her car to the shop to have an engine noise fixed, and when she picked it up, the shop had fixed all kinds of things, but not the engine noise. Let's see what the defendant has to say.
Okay, when the customer brought it in, they had, she told me to take my time on it, that's why it took a week to repair it.
Okay?
They had the engine light on, it was low on oil, it was making noise when starting, but when we first checked it, the first thing we did was check the oil, and it was extremely low, so we filled it up. And it had an exhaust leak, which was the resonator. The EVAP purge solenoid was the check engine light, and the front tires had steel belts coming through, so it wasn't even safe to take on the road.
Did she tell you what she wanted to have done with it, or did she just tell you the engine knocks and fix it, or what was that conversation about?
She wanted to get it roadworthy.
She wanted to get it
No,
roadworthy.
That's not true, that's not.
Whoa, whoa.
Well, just a second. Go ahead, Mr. Weisenberg.
But in no time after I put the oil in, that the motor made any noise, because that exhaust leak was making an exhaust noise, which could have been masking any other noise. But in no time when I had it or test drove it, the motor was knocking after we put oil in it. That's why I gave it back to the customer like that.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
No, I'm sorry, that's not true. It's right on there on the,
She never
on
said
the
it.
bill.
One
It
at a time,
I'm sorry.
please.
says right on the receipt that I said there was an engine knock.
It says
in the car.
engine,
That's what I wanted, fixed, repaired. See
okay.
that on there when I took it in, I told them it had an engine knock.
Well, it says here, services to be performed, engine light on, was low on oil. Makes noise when starting, knocking noise.
Correct,
That's what it says.
correct.
Now, what did you tell Mr. Weisenbach when you brought the vehicle in? I mean,
They
in
had
terms
an
of,
engine knock and I wanted to know what it was.
did you want it
I
to,
did not say that he could keep it as long as he wanted.
you did not what?
I did not say that I wanted it just roadworthy. I just wanted to know what the engine knock was.
Well, did you want it to do any work on the vehicle?
Yes, I did. He called up and he said, this is what you have to do to fix an engine knock, and I agreed to it
Okay.
and let him fix the car.
So there are these things that are written down here. The exhaust resonator had to be fixed. Did he tell you about that?
He called and he said all the stuff that's on there, that's listed on there, that he repaired on my car, and I agreed to it because I thought that was gonna fix the engine knock.
Okay, so everything that was done on here, you agreed to have done.
Correct.
Okay, and then he did that as far as you know, right?
Correct. Correct.
Okay. And then what you're saying is that the engine knock still existed.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess I'm trying to figure out then why you don't think you should have to pay Ron's Auto Care or Mr. Wiesenbach for the work that was done. He told you what he was going to do. You said to do it. You paid him for it. Maybe it didn't fix the engine knock. Maybe there was something more that needed to be done to fix the engine knock, and apparently there was. Apparently you had to have the engine rebuilt, or at least have some work done that's listed on this sheet over here. You had damage to the crankshaft.
Correct, but why would he do all that work and put new tires on a car that I had to have the engine rebuilt on? Is what I'm saying. Why would he do all that, tell me the car was okay? The car wasn't okay. I mean, I would have either, well, I wouldn't have had him do all that work if I would have thought the engine knock was not gonna be fixed.
Well, I don't know, but there's no dispute that the work was done, and there's no dispute that the work was done in a poor workmanlike manner, and there's no dispute that this didn't need to be done on the vehicle.
Correct.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Wiesenbach. You thought this would take care of the engine knocking, or what was your theory on that part of it?
Yeah, because once the car had the correct oil level, it never made any knocking noise. And so really all that first repair, $777.93, the only thing that pertains to the motor is oil additive, and an oil change, which is maintenance for the motor.
Okay.
Because it was severely dirty and it wasn't filled at the time. It only had about half a quart in it when they brought it to me. But in no time when we test drove it or tested it inside the bays, it made a knocking noise out of the motor. It had an exhaust leak out of the exhaust resonator.
Okay. Well, I'll be honest with you, Ms. Miller. I'm having trouble seeing your case, the viability of your case. I'm not saying that the work that Mr. Wiesenbach did corrected the problem. Apparently it didn't. But it needed to be done. He told you what he was going to do. You agreed to it. He did it. You paid him. You're not saying that the work was done, again, in a poor workmanlike way. You're not saying that you're not saying that he did something that you didn't authorize.
No, but it was poor workman that he told me that if the car was gonna be fixed and I had to have a new engine. I mean, I would have never paid $800 to have all that stuff done if the engine knock was not, if he didn't fix the engine knock in the car.
But apparently this
My
needed to
point.
be done anyway.
Well, after I had the engine fixed, it hasn't been knocking. I mean, after I had to have it rebuilt, and I mean, why would I pay him $800 and then have him take the car back, and he tells me it's $2,400 to get it really fixed? Okay, I'm gonna really fix it now, but I'm gonna charge you $2,400. You know what I'm saying?
Mr. Wiesenbach, what was the reason for the second invoice? Why, after you had it the second time, did you tell Ms. Miller that all of a sudden that the engine had to be replaced? That wasn't done the first time. What changed?
When they brought it back the second time, which is on the second invoice,
Right.
the motor was continually knocking then.
It was
It
continuing.
was the same thing.
Well,
That's my whole point.
It was knocking when I left that night.
Well, it seems pretty clear where the judge is going with this. The defendant did all the work that Ms. Miller paid for, and there's no dispute in that. Let's see what the ruling is.
okay, so apparently it needed a lot of work to be done. But you're confusing two things here. You're confusing the work that needed to be done to fix the knocking on the engine with whether or not Mr. Wiesenbach did anything wrong in terms of what he did on the vehicle when you brought it in the first time. Those are two different things.
Yeah, but he told me that the car was gonna run. All I had to do was be sure that there was oil in it, and I wouldn't have that knocking in the engine. And soon as I pulled out, the knocking was there. And when I took it back, then I don't even think, seriously, that he even drove the car, because when I took it, it still had the same, it was in the same condition as when I took it in there. Now, I wouldn't have bothered doing all that other work on the car if I would have known I had to pay $1,500 to get the engine rebuilt. I'm retired. I don't have that kind of money. $700 is half of my pension check.
But you did pay. You paid $1,500.
I had to use half of my pension check to pay for the thing.
So you did pay that.
I paid that, the $700, yes.
Right.
But
No,
sir, can I say something? I think the only reason, because I didn't hear the conversation, but the only reason she paid that $700 was under the auspices that he had taken care of the problem with the
Right.
engine
Right.
knock.
Right.
Okay, that's the only reason. She paid the $700. Otherwise, we originally took it in there for the engine knock. All right, now that $800 that she spent for the 2 tires and the alignment could have been towards the engine repair. And then the others could have been taken care of at a later date, because she doesn't have $3,000 to put in a car being retired. That's the whole point. So now she put, because she cost her an extra $800 right away, that she could have maybe, you know, put a couple tires here, done this month, done that next month. Now, not to say the guy didn't do a good job on the work that he did.
But you can't sue based on that. You can't sue based on the fact that you were forced to pay money up front that you might have paid later on. That's not a legal basis. The question in this case is whether or not Ron's Auto Care under Mr. Wiesenbach did something wrong in this case. Did he charge for work that he didn't perform? Did the work that he performed, was that
Didn't
unworkmanlike?
fix the car. It didn't
Okay,
fix the
did he do do something that he said he wasn't going to do, but did it anyway and charged you for it? None of that happened in this case. This was work that had to be done on the vehicle, maybe earlier than Ms. Miller wanted to have it done, but it still needed to be done. Even if she would have taken this vehicle to Macomb Financial, doing business as Lakeside Auto Sale, and paid $1,500 and some odd dollars to have the work done on the crankshaft, these problems on the vehicle that were discovered by Ron's Auto Care would have had to have been fixed anyway.
True.
And she would have paid for that. Maybe not right away, but she would have paid later on. So it's not like Ron's Auto Care made a mistake or did anything wrong in this case. They didn't in this instance. The work was performed according to what was authorized. I have to dismiss the case. I understand where you're coming from on this, and
Because I had
I'm
borrowed
sympathetic,
the
I guess, to a
$1,500
point, but legally, there's nothing here that is being brought in front of me to show that anyone at Ron's Auto Care did something wrong.
Not surprising, the case was dismissed. The work was done, it just wasn't exactly what Ms. Miller wanted done at that moment. Now we'll take a look at the case of the unfortunate accident.
This is your case, Mr. Lloyd. Tell me what it's about.
On January 24th, I was parked at the pet store on Hoover near 12 Mile, near 10 Mile. And when I exited the store, I found that Miss Crystal's, whatever your last name is, car had hit, Miss Walker's car had hit my car. And police were already there, a record was on the way. As I said, my car was parked. And upon further investigation, using the police report that I have and the policy number that she gave the police, I discovered that the policy number that she gave me was not in effect, and I actually have a letter from the company saying that the policy was not in effect at that time, as I attempted to get a tort payment of $500, and the company told me that her policy was not in effect, so I couldn't get the tort. So that's why we're here in court.
What about your company, your insurance company?
I have PLPD, so I was not eligible for anything besides a tort. It's an old car, and I can't get anything but PLPD on the for coverage. Can't get full coverage.
Or what happened? What type of accident was this? Or
If you'd like to see the report, I can give it to you, but apparently this is what the police say. Unit 1 was traveling northbound on Hoover Road when it left the roadway and struck the curb, drove onto the grass, struck Unit 2, which was mine, which was legally parked with no occupants. Driver 1 stated a blue van made an illegal turn from the center lane into the pet store, supply store, and swerved to avoid accident. So apparently her car swerved to avoid an accident with one car and jumped the curb, hit my car, which was parked legally.
let me see what you have.
Here's the accident report. And it's from the insurance company. And one estimate for my claim of $1,664.78.
Okay, you can have a seat. You have a letter dated January 27th to you that says, I am writing to you concerning the loss that occurred on January 24th, 2012. We have reviewed our records and have determined that the policy was not in effect on the date of loss. Therefore, we cannot honor this claim and will be closing our file. Please notify insurance company of our findings. If you should wish to discuss the matter, please contact me at the number listed below. Sincerely, Deanna Panula, who is the claims representative. This is on Unitron Direct Auto and Home Insurance. There's also a state of Michigan traffic crash report that you've given me. And again, it says Unit 1 was traveling northbound on Hoover Road when it left the roadway and struck the curb, drove onto the grass, and struck Unit 2, which was legally parked with no occupants. That would be your vehicle.
Correct.
Driver 1 stated a blue van made an illegal turn from the center lane into the Pet Supplies Plus store and swerved to avoid an accident. No injuries to report. Unit 1 was not drivable and towed by Ellis Brothers.
And a ticket was issued by the police.
To the defendant, correct?
Correct.
You have an estimate from LaFontaine Chevrolet. That is for $1,668.74, which I think is the amount that you're suing for.
Correct.
And this is for a 1986 Honda, correct?
Correct, sir.
And the, I'm looking for a date here. When did you get this, sir?
Maybe a week after the accident.
Yeah, I don't see a date on it, but that's, you said that a week after the accident, you said?
Maybe a week, yeah. It could have been the same week. The car was still drivable, thankfully.
Okay, and what kind of insurance did you have on it again? I'm sorry?
PLPD. Just no fault. There's no insurance company that will insure a car that old for full coverage unless it's a classic. Or unless I insure it as a classic.
Well, the plaintiff's car was parked in a parking lot at a pet store, and the defendant's car was on the roadway, left the roadway, hit a parked car. There's obviously no way it's the plaintiff's fault. Let's see what the defendant has to say.
Ma'am, what do you have to say?
I was driving and it was an accident. A car swerved in front of me. I avoided a head-on collision and ran into another vehicle.
But you got the ticket, correct? Or did you not?
No,
Oh, you did not get a ticket?
No.
She did not?
It states on the police report there was a negligent.
the person who caused the accident was still on the scene, and they talked to the police also.
Okay.
I may be mistaken to who was given the ticket, but all I know is what I see on the report.
Well, you're saying you did not get the ticket.
Correct.
You were swerved to avoid, you were the one that swerved when there was a vehicle coming to your left. Is that correct, ma'am?
Correct. We would have hit head-on if I did not swerve.
Did the driver of the vehicle that caused you to swerve receive a ticket? Do you know?
I don't know, but they were there throughout the whole accident.
Okay.
Finding out who's responsible for an accident can be a tough thing, and when you add in the third car, it changes this from a really clear case to very questionable. Let's see what the judge has to say.
The problem that I have here with this, Mr. Lloyd, is liability. I mean, how is it her fault? I mean, if what you didn't see the accident.
No, of course not.
If what Ms. Waller is telling me is true, she had to swerve to avoid a car hitting her, and if anybody should have gotten the ticket, it was that other car. And as a result of that, she hit your vehicle. Why didn't you sue the driver of that other vehicle that she swerved to avoid?
There's no other vehicle or owner or anything else listed on the report besides myself and her.
Well, did you talk to someone at the police department to find out if that driver of that other vehicle was issued a ticket or something?
Actually, all they told me was the only information they have is what's on the police report.
Why, do you think she's at fault somehow?
She hit my car, I was parked.
She hit your car, but I mean, if she hit your car because she was trying to avoid somebody else who was doing something illegal, how was she at fault?
Is there any documentation to what she's saying is true, though? I have a
No.
document that proves that she hit my car.
Her testimony.
Okay.
That's what we have, is her testimony, and she witnessed the accident. You did not.
That's correct.
So, I mean, her
And why would
testimony
it-
is a little bit more valuable to me than yours is, because you never saw it. You don't know what happened. All you know is what you saw when you came out of the store, right?
And what the police report states, that there was a ticket issued.
Where does it say that?
That's on one of the 2 pages, towards the
Let's
bottom.
take a look here.
Yep. It says careless negligent.
Well, yes, this is careless negligent. That's the hazardous action. That doesn't say that a ticket was issued necessarily, though. I don't see anything here, like you said, that a ticket was issued. Maybe one was issued, but apparently one was not issued to Ms. Waller.
I was just going on what the police told me.
All right. Well, I can be sympathetic to you, Mr. Lloyd, but I'm going to have to dismiss the case because before I can find in your favor, there has to be some sort of fault or some sort of negligence on behalf of the defendant. And based upon what I'm hearing today, there's no fault on her part. Ms. Waller is telling me that she swerved to avoid somebody else. That testimony is not disputed by anyone. I don't have any reason to believe Ms. Waller is being untruthful to me or telling me something that I shouldn't believe. She seems to be a credible witness, so I've got to accept her testimony, and based upon that, it's not her fault.
I understand, Your Honor.
So the case will have to be dismissed.
And the case is dismissed, and that's based on the fact that the plaintiff didn't witness the accident, the defendant did witness the accident, and there was a third car involved. It's just too hard to determine who was at fault in this situation. It's really just a tough break. If you find that you're involved in a dispute that you can't resolve, small claims court may be the answer. Thanks for watching Case Closed. I'm Tracy Perry.